had shame. I was having a very difficult time in my marriage, and I hid it from everybody because that was supposed to be not supposed to tell anybody. And I think that was the biggest mistake I did, hiding because of shame. That like, how can my marriage not succeed? I took it on me. So had I been honest about it at that point, had I accepted the shame, maybe I wouldn't have put my sons through so much. I wouldn't have put my family through so much, because so by the time I got out of that, I had PTSD, my son had depression, he had symptomatic dyslexia, attention deficit. So I came back to my parents' house, and I was broken, my kids are broken. So both of them had to, at that age, start looking after us. But that's life. As parents, we all sign up for it. So I had to be my mother had, my parents had to be my parents again. So I think shame needs to stop. And now I try to fit in, and I try to hide. There was a time I used to keep my ring on just to pretend that I'm married, and so gradually was that letting go of that shame. I am single, I can't help it. If somebody will not, my childhood friends have stopped calling me to their homes because they felt that they just assume that a woman is single, she's a cougar on the prowl, and she's. So a lot of things I had to face and accept, and I cut off those people from my life. I have very good friends now. I have friends who know me, my character, and who trust me, and who include me and my children in their life as we three are a unit. So shame was there, but I don't hide that I had depression, I had PTSD. Maybe psychology was my subject, so never took it as this thing. So I was very open. If somebody asks, I tried to commit suicide, I'll be very okay about sharing. Because we all have those moments. And in our dinner table, we sit and have discussion, and we'll be laughing, oh, you're depression, oh, you're dyslexic. So it's like, and my son is 16 now, and he's a wonderful human being who laughs at his own weakness. I laugh at my own weakness. So I think, ab nahi shame.
I think this is an amazing tip for people who are going through, that sense of shame. Because something that you said, because you were hiding it, it made it bigger.
Yeah.
When you talk about it, it normalizes your trauma or, whatever you're going through. When you talk about it to other people, like they also sort of understand. But when you're not, you just make it bigger. And something that you said about mental health, how you had PTSD, your son had dyslexia. So now I know a lot of people who are going through a lot of mental health issues, but first they cannot identify. Second, they have this stigma of going to a therapist, and this is because of the society. So what would you suggest for people, let's say, who are listening to this conversation and probably going through a lot of mental health struggles but cannot open up about it, or probably cannot see a therapist because of the whole stigma and the stereotype that if you go to a therapist, then you are you're mentally ill, right? So I just want to understand, what would you suggest?
I would say just look at that actor Sushant
Singh Rajput.
So look at that guy. He had so much money. He had reached success. He had love. He had everything. He had a family, but he wasn't open about it. And look at Deepika Padukone.
Yes.
She's open about it.
Mm.
And look how openness changes everything.
Sure.
We think that if people think we are okay, that means we are okay. Our image in society is okay. But end of the day, you have to live your life with yourself and your close family. And if you're not okay, talk to Sushant Singh's father. And wouldn't he be happier right now if he had told, if Sushant had accepted his illness properly, taken treatment even in a better way, and the whole family had stepped forward and realized what depression is, he would be still alive. So maybe the loss is not that big every time. My father would be happy that finally when I opened up that I cannot handle this relationship anymore, and he became like my wall and he took over. My doctor told, if you continue like this, I don't guarantee that you will survive, and then your children will be orphans instead of So my father would be happy, my mother would be happier that I'm there, and it's a little different life. rather than me not being there at all. So that's what we have to understand. It is sometimes circumstances. Supposing you overuse your body and your knees, runners, athletes, their knees work.
Yes, yes.
So if life has given you stress and your hormones and your you lose some chemicals in your body and your brain not able to cope, that is what mental health is.
True.
So if you see it like that, that's also a part of body.
Absolutely.
If somebody can't walk on their wheelchair and if somebody can't talk because they're sad, so we have to see it like that. And once you accept your all your weaknesses, you are a stronger person. So I used to be like, full of fear that I'm always going to be lonely. That was my biggest fear in life. How will I bring up my kids alone? How will I manage them? They're used to a particular lifestyle. How will I sustain it? I am not capable of earning. I was a psychologist who went into social work. I didn't know how to make money. I did not know how to write a check or how to balance my accounts and think about investments and shares. My son just made some money on Bitcoin. So, that's not me, my son. So it's just like, I remember reading Guru Nanak, since we were talking about Osho and Guru Nanak, I've forgotten what, but it's about accept your biggest fears. So I remember sitting down one weekend and accepting that I am lonely and that is what scares me. How will I do it all alone? It's like as if I'm carrying my whole world on my shoulders. And when I accepted that loneliness, that fear that yes, this is me, this is it, it became easier, because then it became a part of me that this is it, this is who I am. I'm not giving up my desires, but for now this is what it is. And I look back at myself, what I was 10 years from now. I could not step out of my room, I could not talk to people. My mother would drag me to office and I would be like, people used to not see this girl could not, Gurpreet Kugi, I did his first interview, and now I recently did his interview. He said, do you realize there's some people who were very nice to me initially.
You have come a long way.
He said like, this girl could not ask questions. She used to hesitate to ask questions, and today she's having conversations with us about everything. So that journey had to be, I think the work journey depends on your personal journey. So if you're not happy, it will show in your work, it will show in your parenting, it will show everywhere.
Absolutely.
So you have to find that in a emotional calm place so that you can function.
I think that's a process